I'm so excited to have Jillian here with me. I feel like it's been a million years. We were just saying that behind the scenes.
It's been so long. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Lisa, how do I see?
How do
Or
you
do I not see
what are you looking for?
the people?
Oh,
Like,
look for the box that says comments.
Pardon?
The one that says comments.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Got it? Okay, perfect. Now you can see everybody in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I have to switch that. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody.
There's a bunch of you guys here. We're so happy to see you. I am so stoked to do this. It's so funny, Jillian, because when we were chatting about doing this, I drew this total blank about like, what am I gonna ask you? Like we've chit-chatted before, and I was like, oh, but like I want to ask you questions and stuff. And I literally sent out an SOS to my channel members. I was like, you guys, what do I ask Jillian? And they all helped me come up with a bunch of awesome questions. So we have a bunch of stuff to chat about.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be here with everybody.
We're so stoked. So today's a special day. Tell us about it.
Yeah, today's Kickstarter. So big day.
Oh, so your launch of the
Is it me that's freezing?
It was you that's frozen. Yeah, I think you're catching up now. So Kickstarter launch of
hopefully that doesn't happen.
I think it's catching up a little bit. Yeah. Let's see how you do. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. So Kickstarter launch of Mystic Woodlands Charmed playing cards and Pixie Pop.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Pixie Pop Tarot. So it's two different decks in the campaign.
Two different decks, two completely different decks. Like very, very different styles. If you guys hear any snorting or grunting, it's my dog. He's on the floor here. I have a little Frenchie, and he can sound like a little piggy sometimes. So
these are so cute. Yeah, I love doggos.
He's a cute boy.
What's his name?
So two very different decks, very, very different style decks, and both kind of dropped at the same time. So I just felt the urge to take on both things and kind of simultaneously. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's amazing. So the Kickstarter launches today. How long? I think we have a link down below. Hopefully it's working and everything's good. But how long do people have how long is the Kickstarter open?
So 10 days. So it went live today. So it's a short one. Yeah. So it's summertime, and I feel like people are living busy lives and getting out and doing stuff, and So from today, so June 30th, and the last day is the 9th of July.
Okay. Wow, that seems so fast.
It's fast, and we're zipping right through Canada Day and the 4th of July. So
that's true. Yeah. Right through long weekends, which is great. We actually have sunshine in Vancouver. I'm very excited about it right now.
I know. This is a different story that's happening right now.
I know. We've needed it, right? Like it's been so ick for a while. We've had this like really elongated, dreary spring thing happening.
Yeah. People are finally smiling here, which is nice.
Yeah. We needed the sunshine, right? Like at least a little bit of it, just a little. I like the rain too, but like give me the sun.
We need some D. We need some vitamin D. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, you are the creator of the Naked Heart Tarot.
Yeah, that was my first baby.
That was your first baby. When did you launch Naked Heart?
So it's coming up on its 5th year birthday.
Wow, 5 years.
Yeah, which seems crazy.
And then since then, you've also created the Antiquities of Magic Volume 1.
Yes, we've done Volume 1. And that came out, I think that's even coming up 2.5 years now.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Time just seems to, be getting away on me here.
It does that. Yeah. So I have, like I said, I have a ton of questions I want to pepper you with. But before I do that, because I just want to like get into your brain and share you with the world. For the Kickstarter that you have open right now, can you tell us a little bit about sort of what kicked off those projects for you? Like what inspired them, how they came about?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about the two decks that I did, the parallel that I draw, so Mystic Woodlands Tarot Infused Charmed Playing Cards is based off a regular playing card deck, as we can use for tarot readings, and then Pixie Pop Tarot is a throwback to the 1909 cards created by Pamela Coleman Smith. So I feel like both decks were are kind of a nod to where tarot started, which is interesting when I look at it from an energetic perspective.
Interesting, that
Because
beginning energy.
yeah, so they sort of both, like I said, they dropped in at the same time. So when I sort of realized what was happening, I was like, this is almost a little freaky, but like in a good way, freaky.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
those synchronicities.
So Mystic Woodland's Tarot Infused Charmed playing cards was actually born from a few of my friends, really close people that in my life. They were all diagnosed with different types of cancer going through the
Oh,
pandemic. So I
wow.
wanted to create a tool that would help support that spiritual journey, as well as have the opportunity to connect in with loved ones just through the act of playing cards. So it was that the influence behind it was really about bringing sort of joy and connection back into our world.
And almost a bit of play, really, when you think
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Yeah, so Mystic Woodland is the muse, and that was the perfect word because that's how we've described her, is that playful, that love of play and magic back into challenging times.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So,
I'm
wow, what
just
a
waiting because
beautiful. What's that?
I think we had a lag again, so I was just
Oh,
waiting.
yeah, there was a little bit of lag there for just a second. Hi, everybody coming into chat. Hello, hello. We are talking with Jillian, and
Hello,
she's telling us a little bit about her projects. Oh
hello
my gosh.
everyone.
So, okay, so Mystic Woodlands. What really struck me when I first saw those projects going, when you started posting about them on Instagram, one of the things that jumped out at me was instead of a lot of times we've seen playing card tarot kind of mashup things come out, but the suit symbols stay as the playing card symbols. And something I thought was really beautiful about the deck you've been putting together is that they're playing cards, but the suit symbols are cups and swords and wands and pentacles, which I thought was really, really neat.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to keep it so it was still diverse, like so you could still use it as both options. And I think there's for some, even including myself, there's a bit of a level of intimidation with reading playing cards if you don't feel super solid with your tarot meanings, or you're stumbling over which is what and which one correlates to which suits. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to make that parallel super obvious.
Yeah.
And because one of the things that I find really special about reading playing cards when you do is that because they're so simple, it allows your intuition to really kick into gear because your
Yeah.
mind is not searching for the symbols that are in the card or what you're reading. It's really allowing you to connect into your other senses. I kind of think of it like being in a dark room. If you're a visual person and you're in a dark room and you're trying to navigate that space to get out, all your other senses heighten. So I kind
Yeah.
of think of playing cards or reading something that is more simplistic. And I don't mean simple when I say simplistic, but just more simplistic by nature. It allows your other senses to kick in. So if you're not as tuned in or you don't work with those other senses as much, it allows, like, it's a tool that kind of asks them to pick
Kick up.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I tend to go to more pippish type decks in general, like tarot decks in general, when I'm looking for a neutral voice. When I don't want art to slant my meanings one way or another, like I want to come back to a really basic foundation and then be able to read based on that basic foundation. So a lot of times I find myself going to pip decks when I really need that neutrality and that lack of bias in a way. And
Yeah.
so there's been really beautiful about that. I've been really hesitant about playing cards because I'm worried they're too simple and that it's not going to give me enough. But in essence, it's the exact same thing as working with a pip deck where I lean into that simplicity. I think I've just had that barrier where playing cards are concerned because it's like, oh, it's just white and hearts and clubs and But this kind of feels like a bridge, which is neat.
Do you ever find too that when you read more pip decks that you'll get more messages that aren't necessarily connected to the exact meaning of that card? Like it's a bit more open-ended.
So funny enough, I feel yes, but I read tarot kind of always that way. It's almost like I need to be at either end of the polarity. Either I need a deck like say soul cards is one that I work with a lot where it's just artwork with no meanings, no prescribed basis at all, that gives my intuition a lot of room to roam, or going the other direction away from the artwork entirely. Yeah. So it's almost like I need to go to those outer edges to access that space more easily.
Yeah. So you trust yourself more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, the self-trust, because a lot of leaning into intuition is about like listening to the voices in your head. When you talk about almost that sensory deprivation piece about like just cutting off some of that so you can really access the intuitive, it makes sense, because then we're not leaning into crutches, right? We're not looking at the scenes. We're instead thinking about the energy of the card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes our intelligence can try to override us, especially,
Yeah.
and I will speak for myself, when you're trying to read for yourself.
Oh, totally. When you're trying to read for yourself. Yes. I have that same experience.
So I feel like the simplicity piece of it can allow you sort of to back off away from yourself, because your mind's not trying to create a story out of something that's not really there.
Yeah, totally. I love that. So Mystic Woodlands, love that concept. And I'm excited to get my hands on it and play with it and see how it unfolds, especially because, again, I feel like it's that bridge to the playing card world, in a way. So Pixie Pop, tell us a little bit about that.
Before we moved on, because we just have a leg, you have a deck coming to you. I just
No
want to
worries.
tell you.
Oh,
Are we
I
caught
think
up
we're
again?
caught up again. I think so.
Okay. Okay. What was your question?
For Pixie Pop, how did that come about for you? Like, what brought that up for you?
So one of the first inspirations behind Pixie Pop was I was getting really frustrated with the level of pirated decks I was seeing. It
Yeah.
was really breaking my heart that it became about this sense of greed and financial gain, and all the artistic quality and all the history that's wrapped into tarot is being lost. And that was such a sense of frustration. And I feel like poor Pamela, just was
Yeah.
getting washed away in these pirated decks that are coming out. So
Yeah.
I
Eternal
really
Pop.
wanted to create something that paid tribute to her vision and to who she is as an artist. Because I think, sadly, as being an artist, and I mean, the world's gotten much better where people can make a living off of their creations now, but that's certainly not been the past history of where art's come
No.
from. So
That's so true. I think it's really beautiful. And I'm loving all the bold colors and the vibrancy that's come into the artwork through this new project. I'm really excited to see every single card and like feast on it, because I just feel like there's tons of color.
they pop. They really do pop, and that's where that name came from. They're very bright and bold and vibrant. And so Pixie Pop Tarot was actually a collaboration deck with Shannon from Rebel Deck.
Yeah.
So we worked on that together, and she's actually one of my best friends. So it was a very fun project to do, and her and I sort of lived these parallel lives as it is anyway. So we were very synced with different ideas that were going into the deck at the same time. And one of the visions was to make it inclusive and make it as diverse as possible, basing it off of the original cards, because the other idea too is that it's a go-to deck for a lot of people that are learning.
Yeah.
It still is, and we wanted for people that are leaning into tarot for the first time and choosing it, the original artwork, like when I say original, the 1909 cards by Pamela, to feel like they can connect with the work.
Yes.
So
Yes. I think that's so important. And I think, there's a lot of like decks that I lean into as a reader that have more of that range of people in it. So it feels more like I feel like my clients can see themselves in it. I feel like I can see myself in it. And that's important. And I think, having that connected with that original 1909 deck, so people get those original scenes and those original, that are sort of original vision in a way, but also this other piece to sort of, to be able to connect better. I think that's beautiful. And it's exciting to see something like that, because we've seen a couple of those things, but they either go really far from Pixie's artwork, which is okay. I think those are great too. But I haven't seen one that I've been like really excited about like this, that has that original artwork. And that's very exciting.
And her original symbolism is there's so much inclusion in her symbolism too, right?
Yes.
So it's blending those two things together.
Yeah.
And then we took it a step further, and then we added in, so all those pops of colors that you see in the sky, and like the ombre flowing colors, and that was really just to add another level to connecting with the chakras and the feelings. And one of the things that I love to do with that deck is to read the colors, like
Oh yeah.
lay out the tarot meanings all together and just lay the cards down, because there's so much vibrancy that when you connect it to the story and the cards that are laying around you, you can really see where the energy is like held within the reading, which is it's just a super fun way to work with it.
When you do that, just the way you just demonstrated with your hand, I'm just curious. Are you thinking like chakra energy when you're doing that? Like, are you thinking of energy centers in the body when you're thinking of connecting to the colors, or what jumps out at you when you see color? Is it more color theory?
Oh yeah, sorry, you were.
Did it do it again?
Yeah.
You lost me?
Yeah, but I think what you're asking me is about the chakras.
Yes, and the color.
Because I didn't say the word. I just did the motion for my body.
Yep. Yeah, I was just curious if that's what you meant by looking at the colors and connecting.
This is code for read my mind. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the chakras. Connecting into energy. Because I find like sometimes, let's take for example the Five of Cups, because that's a pretty heavy energy. And sometimes if we're doing a reading for the Five of Cups, we might instinctively think emotions, and we might think that it's heart related where the energy is coming from. But if you have a bunch of other colors, it might just be that your voice isn't connected, and that's what's not like the grief is not coming through your voice. So I find if we connect into the color energy of the cards alone, it can draw some more information.
Yeah.
And I think too, like one of my practices for tuning into the chakras is to visualize all of those colors really strongly to help them activate within the body. So I feel like if we're reading, it is pinging different spots in our body.
I wonder if that's why I'm very activated by color myself. Like, I'm very drawn to decks with really bold, vibrant colors. It's a huge thing for me. And I almost feel like there's a part of my language I don't have access to when I don't have a lot of vibrant color in a deck. So whenever there's lots of color, I'm like here for it. I'm like, give me all the color. And I think a lot of it is subconscious. I don't think it's all processing on this conscious level, but sometimes I do that very intentionally and sometimes I don't. But man, it is like, it just adds this whole other layer, whether you're even actively perceiving it or not. I feel like it's there for you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really relate to the color thing too. I like my lipstick collection is a little bit insane when I wear one color, because I just get so attracted to all the colors in the store that I
have that problem with eyeshadow. Give me all the eyeshadow palette.
I think I know this about you, actually. Yes.
Yeah, I have that problem. And nail polish, although I've managed to like hone that in a little bit, but man, with eyes, I'm like, they all seem different. Even like, how many colors could there possibly be? But like, yet they managed to do it.
Yeah, they managed to do it. They get us.
They do every time. So you started off like your sort of tarot creation journey with Naked Heart Tarot, but let's take it further back. Can you tell us a little bit about your tarot origin story? Like, how did you come to tarot in the first place?
Yeah, so that is really connected to Naked Heart. So I can probably blend all of that together for you. It was a very interesting journey for me. So Naked Heart Tarot really was a surprise. It was definitely not a goal or an intention that I was seeking to find. Well, the answer, yes, but it was not a specified destination, if you will. So I was in a car accident about 4 years before the creation of Naked Heart Tarot. And every time I would get into my car, I'd actually have premonitions that it was coming. Oh. And then it actually happened, and ironically didn't think that it was going to happen. So yeah, so I kept hearing spirit say like car accident every time I get into the car. And that accident went from bad to worse over the years, and it really stopped me from being like active in my life. And I was training for a triathlon and a lot of activities
Wow.
that I could do, so it stopped me from doing those kind of things. And then yeah, my injuries just went from, actually, I'm skipping a part. So I kind of, I don't know, I was working in a job that I didn't really like anymore either. And I was just feeling super far away from who I was. And
Yeah.
I just didn't really know who that was anymore. And I surrendered to it all one day. And I just got up and got on the floor actually and prayed and just said, please show me what I'm meant to do that will make me happy and help serve other people. And I surrendered it and gave it away, and I just started to dive into things that I enjoyed, and I quit my job and I got something else just to pay the bills, and started just reading about spirituality and the things that I liked, and started creating art, and the two things just really started to blend together. And they didn't start with the Naked Heart Tarot, but I went through a lot of different stuff. There was like goddesses and chakra related stuff and a whole bunch of things that were coming through. And then my injuries went from bad to worse, and the tarot deck actually. And it, so like, I feel like the universe literally slammed me with this.
Wow. So it's almost like you got thrust into it in a way, but you are also seeking it. It reminds me of that quote, what you seek is seeking you. Like that what you were looking for was also in the process of finding its way to you, which is really beautiful, especially when you're going through such a tough time.
Yeah, so it was difficult, and I feel like creating that was a therapy. Like it was medicine for me as much as it, you know, creating it to put it out there. So it was a double blessing, I guess, if you will, if you could put it that way.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a terrifying thing putting creative work out into the world. I don't think it can be overstated how scary it can be, because
Yeah.
in a way you're putting a piece of yourself out
Yeah.
on display and you're saying, okay, world, you get to judge this now, like you get to have an opinion about it. And it's a different kind of vulnerability that is really, really potent, and to do that on the heels of an experience that was so life altering for you is really powerful.
Thank you. There
Yeah.
was something in me that just knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it was going, but I just knew it had to be made. That was like the only thing that I could really say for certain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the interesting thing about it too is that when I started to create the deck, I was on crutches. And by the
Yeah.
time I had finished the last card, I put them down. So
Oh
I dropped
God.
on a cane and yeah, was walking on my own again. So when I was bedridden for many months creating that deck. So
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that story actually, which, it's interesting how these profound creations and experiences can come out of so much difficulty and pain, right? But to have it sort of mark that journey in a way that's really potent.
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
So
it has a life of its own, that deck. I really feel like it does because like I said, I wasn't seeking that as a destination, and
yeah.
it has its own spirit. So
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. So you created the deck, but prior to that, were you working with tarot? Did you start to draw, like pull cards for yourself? Like when did you start to work with the tarot for your own life? Like when did you find yourself really going down that path? And what was that like for you? Like, did you have a deck you first worked with, or
um so I played a lot with tarot when I was in my teenage years, like
yeah?
quite a bit, and I just got away from it. And there was, so let's back this up, because actually when I was a kid, I used to have a lot of premonitions about things, and
Really?
they were quite heavy premonitions for being a child, and I didn't really know what to do with that information, and it became really scary. And as I got older, I didn't really have people to bounce that information off and talk to about it. So I wasn't really sure how to nurture it, and it also became kind of scary for me because these, don't want to call them dark, but heavy things were always coming.
Yeah.
So I think as I got into my 20s, I tucked it away, and I had one experience that I had voiced that really had scared somebody, and because of their reaction to me, I got scared and I really
Yeah.
shut everything down. So I didn't revisit this until I found a more grounded approach to it, I guess,
Yeah.
which all falls in line with when the Naked Heart Tarot really was born. So as I was creating the cards, I was refamiliarizing myself with everything and allowing for my intuition to open up again and let those things come back.
Kind of reconnecting with it.
Reconnecting with it, yeah, and finding a grounded way to do it, because it didn't reading was really helpful for me, and not listening to what anybody else was doing or saying. I couldn't do it. I really had to listen to what felt right for me, and I really had to shut everything else out, because I think my interactions in the past didn't show me good feedback. So I really had to find my own way through all of
From
this.
within. Yeah. It's interesting. My creative process, like when I wrote my book, I had a very similar experience where I had to shut out a lot of those external voices for exactly that reason, because I was having a hard time sort of trusting my own authority, like
Mhm.
leaning into that and going, okay, no, I'm allowed to talk about this. I'm allowed to say this. And it's so easy for me to defer power, or especially historically when I was younger, that was really difficult. So getting caught up in other people's voices can be a real challenge when you're trying to tap into your own. It's interesting that I feel like a lot of us who discovered tarot when we were younger go through this period of like almost rejection of it or distancing ourselves from it for a period. I feel like that's a very common story for people who started in like their teens or like first started exploring in like their early 20s, that there's this like gap that a lot of us go through where we almost push it away and then we seek it again for some reason, or we reconnect with it for some reason. And then the second time around is almost it's so much more potent in its own way. It's so interesting. I feel like that's a correlative thing that a lot of us experience.
I would agree, because I've heard that from quite a few people too. And it's just interesting, I think, also when we look at the resurgence of the tarot right now, it
Yeah,
falls in line with the last time it sort of surged too.
it does.
It's really, yeah, it is interesting. The correlation is interesting. Yeah.
Lisa Stevens says, same for me, Jillian. Very heavy premonitions as a child, pushed it away in my early 20s. Yep.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, same
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah. And I feel like I went through that period where like then there was a gap there. And a lot of people I know who worked with tarot went through these long kind of breaks. In fact, it's kind of almost a common question. Did you ever so you had that sort of long break. Once you kind of reconnected with it, has it stayed pretty steady in your life, or have you taken other sort of steps away from it?
Like the premonition piece or tarot,
The
or
tarot piece, the
I
tarot piece.
think it's changed form would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Because I think this time there was an intention of it being very grounded for me.
Yeah.
I needed something that was grounded. And a lot of the way for me working with tarot was really self development reflective, opposed to leaning into the fortune telling piece.
Yeah.
And I think just because of my past itself, I don't really want to lean into that too much. I would say that also, I hear spirit a lot more, and I feel like images and stuff when I, like, for example, when I create the deck, it's very grounded energy and it's very solid. Like when I get an idea of what's supposed to go on a card, it's very, very solid. There
Yeah.
isn't a lot of, like, I guess, how do I articulate this? I feel like the messages and information that I get now is much more clear with what I'm supposed to do with it. Opposed to
Yeah.
when I was younger, it wasn't clear and it was heavy and I didn't know where to put it. And I think that coming back, I don't know, maybe I even specified. I can't remember, but I might have said, if you come on back in, look, like I want you to come back, but we got to take a new direction. So
You know,
yeah,
it's okay to have I don't
changed.
Yeah, I don't think we talk about it enough that it's okay to have boundaries with spirit and spirituality and intuition and all these kinds of things. It's okay to, like, I don't know, tell your guides or whatever, like, yo, back off a little bit. Like, I need some space. I need time to process, or I need to know what to do with this information. I think sometimes it's almost like, oh, you should just take it all in and be grateful for it. And it's not always that simple. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it's just a lot. And we need breathers and we need
Yeah.
processing time, or like you said, we need to ground it, or we need to know what to do with it. Would you say, so
Hmm.
when you discovered tarot, you worked with tarot, you worked with some of the psychic energy or some of this premonition style energy in the ways that you were comfortable, and you took those two things, sound like they're kind of on parallel but slightly diverging paths. But with the tarot or with any of those types of practices, divination, oracle, any of that kind of thing, did you ever have a time when you felt like you had to hide that, or like you couldn't tell people in your life about it, or you had to keep it kind of quiet? Like, did you go through any of that kind of stuff? Oh, did we lose her? Oh no.
Well,
Oh,
the
there we go.
premonition stuff, the premonition piece was like that for me. It
Yeah.
just wasn't well received.
Hmm.
And are we lagging again?
We were, but I think we're back.
Okay. Yeah, the premonition piece I think was really like that for me. And then I don't really feel like I don't remember feeling like I needed to hide tarot when I was younger, but I don't know if I really told people either. But I don't
Yeah.
think there was like a need to tell people. I think it was just something that I wanted to do for myself and explore for myself.
Yeah. Personal.
I'm just waiting for this to catch up. And then my mom, she loves astrology and tea leaf reading, and it runs in our family. So
Oh, I love
she's always
that.
made that kind of fun for me too. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. So you didn't have a concern that you were going to alienate from family because you were exploring this stuff or anything like that.
No, I feel pretty lucky. But I do feel like the premonition piece in the sense of maybe finding how to relate to how difficult that can be for people, the premonition piece was for sure because it was
Yeah.
not well received. And like I said before, like there was a lot of negative feedback. So it shut my voice down with it too. So,
Yeah, I had a similar experience, but not it doesn't sound like it was as intense, but I had a similar experience when I was first sort of tapping into, I feel like, that more psychic energy, that more where it goes beyond explanation, like that piece. I had this experience where I was reading for somebody and I gave a reading and it made them really, really uncomfortable because it just went to a place they weren't expecting me to be able to go to. And it was similar in that the reaction was so strong that I felt like, oh, I guess I can't do that. Or like, so it kind of pushed it away a bit. It made it scarier for me to access because realizing I could make somebody else really uncomfortable. And I will say that it wasn't such an intense reaction that I couldn't find a way through it in the time. Like, I was able to sort of rework it, I guess. And I just started disclaimering when I did those, because for me, it was still card connected, right? So I was doing a type of reading with cards, but I was able to start disclaiming it and saying, look, like this might go into some really intense, really personal places. Just know that going in, if you're uncomfortable, we can stop. It's cool. And I kind of tiptoed my way through it like that for quite a long time to stay connected to it. But I think I was motivated to do that in the moment because I didn't have that, or I don't remember having those experiences as a child. I remember having them only once I connected with cards and was able to tap into that piece. So it was still new and kind of exciting. And I wasn't at a point where I was frightened by it, just that I didn't want to frighten others with it. Does that make
sure.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think too, like anything new, we get really excited about it and we just want to get it out there, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we learn by getting it out there. Like that's such an important piece. We can't know all the information as soon as we start. That's
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So do you read with your own decks?
Um, yes and no.
So what would be your go-to deck to read with other than your own?
Yeah, so I have this Oracle deck actually, which is, I'm pretty sure it is out of print. It is called Return of Spirit by Shirley Harness. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Trying to
it's a
picture
mass
it.
market deck, and it's yeah, I think it's been out of print for it's older.
You know, we're all madly going to be hunting for it now.
Yeah, sorry. I hope you
Yeah.
can find it. Let me know if you do, because I wouldn't mind a second copy. Um, yeah, that deck for me is was fractal images. It's all like light,
Oh, cool.
and it's not a deck I read with often. It's just a deck I 100% trust to give it to me as it is. And it
Yeah.
usually is just one card, and as soon as the card it pops itself out of the deck every time. I never have to shuffle, cut, or do anything. I shuffle and it pops,
Wow.
and it gives it to me straight.
I
And
love that.
yeah, so that one for sure is just it's a trusted, like, when the hard questions are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to have a deck like that. Gosh, I'm trying to think if there's a couple I have that I would lean into that way, but for like really like deep truth, I tend to go to those. I mentioned the soul cards. I use those a lot for that. Really like they're like the crystal ball of tarot for me. It's like I can get anything out of them. It's so hard to describe. Do you have a go-to tarot or oracle spread that you like to use, or you mentioned things cards popping out? Do you like to just shuffle and like take the message as it comes, or do you like to do spreads?
If I'm reading for other people, I usually give the option because I often find that some people aren't super clear on what they want to know.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
true.
find that if I can offer a spread, sometimes it helps them to click into what it is that they actually want to do.
Right.
Are we liking again?
Yep, just for a sec.
Are we back?
I think so.
Okay. And then what was I going to say? When I read for myself, I don't generally use tarot spreads. I actually will draw the cards until the cards tell me to stop. And I will
I love
often speak it out, or put it on a recorder or journal it out as it's coming. So I just keep going with the information because I find that if I don't do that, I get too much in here. So I
Yeah.
just try to get the information out and then pull it back and make sense of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I like the organic approach. I kind of have a sort of, for me, I do this like kind of conversational thing. When you say speak it out, it reminds me of that a little bit. But I'll like start out with sort of, I do a daily practice. And in my daily practice, I like to kind of find out like, what is it I need to focus on today? And then I'll draw a single card, usually from an oracle. And then I'll use that as a jumping off point to kind of have a conversation with cards. So I'll ask a question based on that, get an answer, and then maybe a follow up, So it becomes this sort of living, breathing thing that isn't so concrete as like a spread. But that's what I do the most part when I'm reading for myself. I love spreads for clients, but I also love just, like you said, just throwing a bunch of cards down and seeing where it lands. So I've done it both ways. I like it both ways. I like it all the ways. I love tarot.
I like it all the way too.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying. There's a time and benefit for each style of reading,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, totally. So I have a couple questions for earlier I want to throw out there. So Wampus Lampus was asking what it was like making your own tarot and what your relationship with tarot is like now that you've seen the other side as a creative.
oh, that's a whopper of a question.
It is.
Okay, read it to me one more time. I got to get all that information.
Okay, what was it like making your own tarot? And what's your relationship like with tarot now that you've seen the other side as a creative?
Okay, so what I will say is when I was creating the tarot, I lived out a lot of the cards. So there's a lot of stories that I have that are connected to the cards' meanings as they were being drawn.
Oh.
So that was a very interesting process for me because some of the cards, I'll give you an example. When I arrived at the tower, I had a lot of difficulty creating that card. And when I first put it on paper, okay, so I was getting nice feedback from my friends. And I didn't tell a lot of people that I was creating the Naked Heart Tarot, but I was getting nice feedback. And when I got to the tower creation, I got a lot of laughs. And it's because I wasn't committing to the energy of the card. I couldn't commit to the energy of the card because I was too afraid because too many of the cards had come through for me already. So I was like, well, if I put the tower down on the paper, is now that like my life going to turn into another tower moment? Because at that point in time, also I wasn't well. So I
Yeah.
couldn't handle another explosion.
You're like, I don't need this right now.
No, but I managed to find a way to make peace with that card, which I think is reflective in the artwork. And I really had to take that into nature and think about what does that destruction look like. And Lisa, as you'll know, where we live, we get a lot of wildfire and we get a lot of flood, and we see both of that sometimes even in combination.
Yep.
And from that also is this beautiful regrowth. So once I was able to see that, I think maybe spirit let up on me and was like, "We'll give her a pass on the tower."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's got it. We're good. We're good. That's interesting. You're not the first person to tell me that when they were creating a tarot deck that they were really living it as they were creating it. It's really interesting to me. When you've created tarot, do you find yourself doing, or even other decks you've made, when you have a set structure, do you do them in order, or do you do like whatever comes to you at that moment?
Yeah, so the Naked Heart Tarot was created in order. And I
Wow.
wouldn't move on to another card until I knew exactly what was going on that card. And sometimes there was gaps, like sometimes there was a couple weeks in between creating.
Yeah.
But do you want me to tell you another story about
Yeah.
the creation process? Because
Yeah,
I feel like
please.
I'm catching part of this question that was asked, and I'm trying to circle back to the end of it. So
Fair enough. Yeah.
my favorite card in the tarot deck is the Hangman. And I feel like I have a really special relationship with that card because it was actually drawn in black and white. And
Oh.
I kept hearing spirit and my like internally asking me to create in color. I kept hearing it over and over, create in color, I want to create in color, I want to create in color. And I actually took a break from the deck and just did some pieces in color just for fun. And then when I
Yeah.
came back to the deck, I decided that would be a good time I got excited and I was like, well, this would be a good time to put it into the templates and see what everything looks like. And I was working on the Hangman and I put all the stuff in the template and then realized after the 1,000 times that I had measured, I mismeasured and none of the artwork fit. So all the work that I had created wasn't working and it wouldn't fit. There was no way to make it work. And so I had my head hanging down with my head in my hands, and as I was having all of these overwhelming feelings, I realized that I was actually staring down at the Hangman card.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I took a pause and I just had this like wave of like calmness come over, and it was like, just don't make a move, just don't, it's going to be okay, just don't sweat it right now. And I let it go for a couple days. I was like, okay, well, let's just see what this looks like. And then that's actually what switched my deck into color. So I started to create from the pieces that I was playing around with, those color pieces merged into the black and white ink drawings that I had, and then my art style was born, and that's how the Naked Heart Tarot came to be what it is.
Wow. Do you find that's so cool? That is so cool that's how that shift happened, that perspective shift, because that's totally the Hangman energy, right?
Right? Yeah.
Did you find that once you kind of peeked under the hood, this is something I've always been curious about, and it was kind of also, I think, partly in Wampus's question, but at least that's kind of what I'm feeling from it, is do you find that peeking under the hood in a way, like sort of getting behind the scenes or behind the curtain, I guess, of tarot to create it, just that process of having to think about it in that way changed the way you looked at tarot after that? Like, did it shift for you what working with tarot felt like in general, like just to know that you've kind of gone into that layer?
Yeah, this is the end of that question, isn't it?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm getting the answer out. It doesn't feel like a super easy question to answer.
No.
I feel like how personal tarot is probably has taken on a whole other level for me.
Yeah.
And going back to how I use tarot for self-development has also changed. Like how the meanings adapt to my own personal practice has really shifted the self-development piece for me. Like tarot has taken on its own, like it has its structure, and then it's taken on its own way of working in my own self-development. And then I
Yeah.
feel like what the pieces that I've learned in life are now applying them into the tarot structure. So
Like
it's
it's all become kind of knotted together.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's it has really changed. It's very, I guess it's different from, yeah, it's different than just the regular card meanings. It's grown in a whole different, whole different way.
Way.
Yeah,
Almost taken on a life of its own, it sounds like, for you.
it has taken on a life of its own. Yes.
That's amazing. So when you're doing creative work or when you're working with tarot, in either case, or sitting down to work with cards, not even tarot specific, but in either situation, creative work or that self-development work with cards, do you have to do something to get into that space? Do you have ritual that you do, or do you have like a container you create for yourself where within that space you do that creative work or you do that divinatory work? Do you have sort of things that you do to get yourself into that space?
I find, well, for me, my art has really become a discipline. It's really become a discipline.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, creatively speaking, I don't make a move until I know it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
So it's an act of surrender, I think, for me too.
That's a
I
powerful word. Yeah.
don't do anything that ever feels forced. And I have learned my lesson when it's forced, it shows. It doesn't come out right. So
Yeah.
I don't, oh, there we go. There's no ritual. I don't have a ritual or necessarily things that I do, but I mean, mood wise, if I'm not there, like having a good old dance party really helps to shift and move energy. So that works great for me.
I love that, to physically shake it up if it's
Yeah.
feeling stagnant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Oh my gosh. There were so many good questions. There was another one here by Deborah Williams. Is there any tarot books that you would recommend for tarot beginners learning? Do you have a favorite that you like to recommend to people?
Oof. My goodness. I don't I don't know if there's I wouldn't I wouldn't put all my money on one book.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm like, give me all. Give me the stack.
Because there's such little good nuggets and so many different things, and I think
Mhm.
that the biggest thing is, do you trust and can you feel into what you're reading?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Do you resonate with that author's voice? Does it feel like it's speaking in a way that you understand and that you can, yeah, like that you connect with? I think
Yeah.
that's an important piece. There's a very different style of tarot. There's different styles of tarot books. There's ones that speak in this very colloquial kind of
Yeah.
casual way. And then there's ones that are very, um, have this more like slow, deep wisdom about them. And they both have a lot of the same kind of power, but they'll hit different depending on what you're in the mood for, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think tarot too, the beautiful thing about it, as you know, it's forever expanding, right? You're always learning new stuff about it. You're never gonna know everything about any single card, I don't think. That's what makes it so fun, is that you can just keep going and dive deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, right?
I
So
love the layers. Speaking of layers, so
layers.
yeah, let's talk about layers. Do you have a favorite like additional layer? I don't know if I'm going to be able to ask this properly, but that you like to add on. So for some people it might be astrology. For some people it might be numerology. You mentioned color before. There's lots of different, like for some people it's Kabbalah and like the Tree of Life and the Sephirot and all of that. Is there a layer that you love, like sort of leaning into or adding on to that sort of foundational structure?
It is an interesting question because I don't think that there's necessarily layers for me when I create, because when I know what to put on the card, it comes as a full image. Everything is there. So, yeah,
What about as
that's
a reader though, as like for working with the tarot, maybe not so much the creation piece, but actually reading for yourself, is there a piece that you like layering into the, maybe layer is a bad word, but integrating in to your interpretation of the cards?
I don't think it's a bad way of saying it. I fully understand what you're getting at, because I think the other thing that I think that is fun in terms of layers, taking the traditional pieces and sneaking in those little bit of symbolisms that you might see or you might not see. Like it could be anything from, like, I don't know, let's just pull a rabbit out of a hat right now. Adding a third branch to a tree that actually makes it symbolic of something more.
Interesting. Almost like it could, like, I think I know where you're going with this. Sometimes I find when I'm reading the tarot, there's the basic foundational meaning of the card, right? But then maybe in this card, I notice this detail, like there's a wall. This happened for me with the sun card. I started really noticing the wall, the garden wall, and it started creating this sense of safe space for me. So a lot of times when I'm looking at the sun, I'm thinking about the idea of being safe and the vulnerability of the naked child on the horse and all that kind of thing, and thinking about vulnerability and feeling safe in vulnerability and being in a space where that's okay. But that all came about because I started noticing the wall in sun cards and this garden sort of boundary that was taking place. So for me, sometimes that's the piece, right? Is like something that pops into your mind because you see a particular part of an image. But it sounds like for you, it's all kind of, it feels very organic when you talk about the tarot. Like it's not in these segmented pieces, but rather it's this holistic, organic thing that you're experiencing.
Yeah. You've said that really nicely, because that's exactly what happens. It's like the energy of the card as a whole goes into the image for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Any hobbies outside of tarot you want to share with us?
I didn't catch that.
That's okay. It's the internet. Any hobbies outside of tarot that you want to share or you feel like sharing with us?
Yeah, so I'm getting back into hobbies. So I still, when I say hobbies, I mean active hobbies, because that car accident really took a toll on me. And then as I got better, I was in a motorcycle accident. So I'm just getting back on my feet. And one of my favorite things to do is golf.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is beautiful golfing weather right now.
It sure is. Yep. Yep. And we're struggling. We're struggling getting out there right now. But yes, I love to golf.
Oh, that sounds so therapeutic. I've never golfed, like I've mini golfed. I know that doesn't quite count, but like I try to think of mini golf bigger, and I'm like, I don't think I have the attention span or the focus for a bigger version of the golf that I have played, which is the mini golf.
They're really different. They're really different, because I can't get into mini golf.
No. Yeah.
They're very different. They're different mindsets, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. That explains it.
You could probably do it, Lisa. Yeah. You can focus.
Oh boy. I mean, I don't know. That's the idea of like hitting a ball really far away and then having to go figure out where it went and hope you're somewhere in the vicinity of where you're supposed to be. It just stresses me out. I can't even imagine.
I'm still struggling with it.
Yeah. I don't even know how you find it. Like, I'm like, I can't, like, I get that you build it as a skill, right? Like you can aim that distance. It's fascinating to me. I really need to go sometime and watch somebody actually play and see how it works. But in my brain, I can't figure it out at all. It's just like a total disconnect.
Well, it's something that I did growing up. I've golfed since I was 5.
Yeah?
Yeah. So it was something that my dad and I always did together. So.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that.
Yeah. So there's not like, I find the one thing I find, the more stuff you learn when you're a kid, the easier it is to adapt to your adult life. But if
Yeah.
you've done it as a kid, trying to learn it as an adult is
Oh,
very difficult. It's very
tell
difficult.
me about it. It was like all my communication skills I had to learn as an adult. How to argue, how to feel emotion. It was really challenging. So much easier if you have a foundation for it as a child. I totally agree.
100% agree with that. Yeah.
Like how to deal with people. Yep.
Yeah. We're all relearning, aren't we?
Also applies to hobbies. No.
Yeah. It's to hobbies.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I've still got so many questions. But you know what? So how about this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you this was a question that actually came through in a few different forms from a few different of my channel members. They were all curious about this, which I thought was really interesting, is because I think a lot of us have been dealing with this lately. And it has to do with sort of brain fog, or maybe you could look at it as creative block or whatnot. But when you feel like everything's very muddled and you can't quite get clear, do you have strategies? If that happens to you, do you have strategies for how to get yourself out of that space?
Yeah, so I have a morning practice that I start every morning with to get as grounded as possible. So I deal with anxiety disorder. So I will share that piece. So I'm very familiar with brain fog, and I'm very familiar with different levels of fear because of the anxiety. And so I have a very, very dedicated morning practice that I do. I have to stick with it. Again, dance movement of any type really helps me with that. And then honestly, my connecting into my art is such a huge thing. And there are a lot of times where I feel like I can't create a whole piece or do something big, but I just need to get the energy and emotion moving. So sometimes they're just scribbles, sometimes they're doodles, sometimes they're look at something, draw it exactly. There's lots of different little practices that I have in there just to get into the motion of going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because brain fog's not fun. I feel ya on that. It's difficult. And I think it's really important for us to be able to have people that understand that about us too, to be able to talk to those people. Because sometimes I find just speaking it out with somebody that really understands you can just help sort of clear you through that mist too.
Yeah. It's a really, in general, just to not feel isolated in that moment probably helps quite a bit. Yeah. I had a question just on the tip of my tongue.
Did that answer that question?
I think it did. I think you answered it beautifully. I had something else that reminded me of that I was going to ask you. I think it was about, that's what I was going to talk about, was I think sometimes, I heard this recently, and I'm trying to remember where I heard it, and I'm not going to be able to remember in this moment, but it was talking about motivation versus discipline. I think sometimes we think that we have to find the motivation to do the thing. And I think sometimes when you talk about having, you mentioned being really disciplined with your work, but also it sounds like you're very disciplined with your morning practice. And when I think about that, I think about the fact that sometimes it's the doing the thing that eventually brings the motivation and not the other way around. And I think sometimes we're waiting for motivation to hit to do a thing. We're waiting for that impetus, that feeling of like, oh, I should get up and go do the thing. And sometimes it's less about that, I find, and more about the discipline to go, I'm going to do the thing. And then as I do the thing, it becomes, it is easier to do it, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's relatable, but I feel like the discipline is a huge piece.
You're talking about the chicken or the egg.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm just trying to think here back to what, like really heavily starting in with my art. There was such a influx of passion for it that I couldn't not do it.
Yeah.
Like that's where it sort of started with me. But there, like, don't get me wrong, there's days where I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And those are the days where sometimes you just have to bite off 15 minutes of time.
Yeah.
Right? So that you're not losing your connection to it too.
Yeah, letting it slip away. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's part of the motivation / discipline.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like my dog, he's standing at the front door, and if you hear a ding dong, it's because he has pushed the doorbell to go outside. So
okay. He's like, I'm about done with you being busy right now. Let me ask you the nosy fun question then, and then we can start wrapping up. The nosy fun question is this. If you have one, then we want to know what's in your tarot bag, your go bag. And if you don't have one, what would you put in it? Like if you're getting ready to go away and you want to have all the best tarot things around you, what's going in there?
Always number one for me is clear quartz crystal.
Yes.
Always, 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 always. There it is. Can you give me 1 second?
Absolutely. How's everybody in chat doing? I feel like I've just been like in the zone with Jillian, but I'm seeing you guys all in your comments. If you guys have questions you want me to add on, you want me to check in with Jillian, definitely hit me with them. I'm trying to save them as we go.
Hi, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah. My other answer was going to be pen and paper.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you journal your readings typically? Is that why, or is there another reason for the pen and the paper?
Exactly. Journal them. Yep.
I have an ongoing tarot journal, and I have this little photo printer. It's like called a Canon Ivy. It's about this big. And I can take my photos and my readings with my, well, it's right here. I can take my photos with my Canon, why can't I get this out? With my phone. I can take pictures with my phone and print them on this little printer. And so when I do my readings, I just put the photo and then I write.
This big?
Yeah, it's little. It prints pictures this big. These are trimmed down just ever so slightly. But yeah, it prints little, like, that's about a full-size photo right there.
Oh, that's fun. That's
yeah. I love that because I want to be able to like look back on it and go, these were the decks that I use. Like, this is kind of roughly what it's not the best. They're not the best photo quality in the world, but it's pretty decent. And it's like, I don't know what I would do without that time to process in writing what it is that I'm reading about, which is amazing. So I really lean into it. Oh my gosh. Trisha says, why do my dogs not ring the doorbell? Oh no, we have lag again. Poor Jillian. She's like, hello. Poor thing. I know, lag is the worst. I wish my dogs rang the doorbell when they wanted to go outside too. What the heck, man? We'll give Jillian a second to get caught up here. Yeah, it's here. Butterfly Magic is like, it sounds like a loud truck is constantly backing up. Yeah, my window's open because it's warm here. So if you hear traffic noises, that's coming from here for sure. We'll give Jillian a second here to see if she can reset. She may have to. Yeah, I thought so. I thought we were going to lose her. I was like, that looks like a disconnect about to happen. Poor Jillian. The lag is real. It can be a lot for internet to handle these streams. So she's been a trooper so far. Well, hopefully she'll be able to come back. We'll see. Hi, Aquarian 71. Oh, Taron Tarantulas, I'm going to save your question. Hopefully we get Jillian back. I'm going to pop over and just make sure. We primarily have been chatting on Instagram, so I just want to make sure that she can reach me if she needs to. And we'll see if she pops back in. Yeah, Peggy says, I wish our dogs could just talk and tell us exactly what they want. I know, wouldn't that be amazing? They're like little toddlers. They can't tell you at all. But you know what? I know of people. It is a thing where you can train your dogs to like hit a bell or like. I had a acquaintance that had a little just regular like hanging like jingle bell type bell hanging from their front doorknob, and yeah, their dogs would just walk over and bang the bell when they want to go outside. But I feel like my dogs would just be over there like bang, bang every time they get bored. It would be bad. Hi, Hershey. Oh my gosh. I know, I wish I could understand my dogs all the time. Let's see. Aha! Did we get cut off? Yeah, I'm just going to let Jillian know. Just one sec, guys. Oh, no! It's not internet. I don't know what it is then. So she can't get back in. Okay. Give me one sec, guys. We're going to be wrapping this up, I think. She says, I want to say thank you and goodbye. I know. I want you to be able to say thank you and goodbye, too. Let me see. I don't know what I can do. I've turned my internet quality, not my internet quality, but my image quality down. Hold on one sec, guys. We're going to sort this out and see if we can figure out how to get her back in here. One sec. Let's see if we can. Just told her to maybe see if she can try a different browser. She might be able to pop back in. Her internet's strong and so's mine, so I'm not sure where the lag is coming from. Hi, Cherry Sprinkle. Aw, that's okay. The playback will be good. And oftentimes YouTube will smooth over some of those little hiccups. So where we've had some laggy bits, a lot of times on the playback, it's a lot smoother. So that's something to keep in mind too if you've had some, if, you've been seeing some of those little bumps. We'll see if she can pop back in. But in the meantime, I do have a starred question from Terran Tarantulas about Volume 2 of Antiquities of Magic. So I will definitely ask that if I get a chance to. We asked the tarot bag question. Oh, she's back. Yay. I see her. I get a chance to. Oh. We asked the tarot bag question.
I'm here.
Okay, I just muted Jillian real quick. Did you get the YouTube muted? I'll unmute you. Are we good?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I was just in the chat trying to tell you guys that I was sorry I didn't get to say goodbye. So I thought if I couldn't, at least you'd know I showed back up. So
yeah. Well, we'll have to let you go because I don't know what's causing the lag. I'm so sorry. It's a pill, but it's a lot for sometimes the processors. So I don't know if it's a computer thing or if it's an internet thing. But both of our internets are good, so it could just be the weather or who knows what can get in there.
I feel like there's not very often when I talk to something doesn't go weird.
Really?
So
you've just got lots of beautiful, buoyant, energy that's trying to get out there, and it just overwhelms the systems.
Yeah, that's nice, Lisa. You're so sweet.
We really appreciate, all of us really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. This has been beautiful. I know we're probably about to lose you again, so I don't want to keep you. But real quick, we have one last question I want to try to squeak in if we can, and then we'll say goodbye. Terran Tarantulas was curious, is there a volume 2 of Antiquities of Magic on the way?
Oh, yes, that is the intention.
Yeah?
Yeah, it hasn't, it's been, it's kind of sitting there. It's the structure of it's already been worked out, so it's there. It's just there's 2 other things also on the go, and then the 2 things that went on the Kickstarter today, and then it's just discipline. You say discipline.
It'll come out as it's meant to come out, but I know that people will be looking forward to it when it does happen. But good luck with your Kickstarter, Jillian. I think it's going to be amazing. I really do. And I'm really excited about both projects. And thank you for taking the time to hang out with us and answer all of our bazillion questions.
It was so nice to see you. And it was so nice to see you. And I think I'm going in the opposite direction of where the chat and your beautiful.
It still works, though.
Thanks, everyone, for showing up. It's such a pleasure. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Jillian. And I will talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy. Okay, take care.
You too. All right. Bye, everybody.
Many blessings.
Bye.
Bye.